In this video, we'll take a detailed look at the Oupes 600 watt portable solar generator. This is the first Oupes power station that I've tested, and so far I am impressed with its features and performance. Before I show you its features, let's take a look at what comes in the box. Okay, so now I can get the box out of the way. It's kind of interesting that there's ink here, but a sticker with the labels on these boxes. This is the DC to DC charger. And here we have the AC power block cable. In the second box, I believe we have the AC power block. And it looks like some kind of instruction card, warranty card. All right. Here we have a 96 watt AC power block, which is consistent with the Oupes 600's ability to accept up to a 100 watt solar panel. So let's take a look at some of the features of the Oupes 600. I'm going to press and hold the power button for about 3 to 5 seconds. Once I see that light turn on, I know that the power station is on. The first feature that we're going to look at is the two 600 watt 110 volt DC outlets. This has a combined wattage rating of 600 watts with spikes acceptable up to 1200 watts. To turn on the AC outlet, I'm just gonna press this little button right here. That places that into operation, and then I can plug in any AC device. The next feature is the 12 volt DC outlets. There's 3 of them, but this is the one that most of us are familiar with. I do like this marine style outlet. This marine style outlet has little tabs inside of it so that when you place items in, it will make the connection a little more secure. So next up, we have 2 USB-A outlets and 1 USB-C outlet. The USB-C outlet can be used for power delivery up to 60 watts. And I'm going to test it and see if I can also use it to charge this device. On some devices, you can charge with this input as well as with the DC inlet. Okay, next I'm going to talk about the input. So I have seen some of the literature shows a graph of this device hooked up to 2 100 watt solar panels. I have submitted a request for information to the manufacturer to see if that is in fact true. The power block that came with this is a 100 watt AC adapter. If you can charge with the 200 watt solar panels, I would say you're going to get max about 160 watts out of that. And that could significantly reduce your charging time for this device. The last kind of feature on this device is it's light, low, it has medium, and it also has an SOS setting. So let's do some tests and see what this power station can handle. Here I have my little MyHeat mini heater. Turn that on. See the wattage right there is 0. So you can see the fan for the AC inverter kicked on. All right, so we're steadying off around 250 watts. And I have my fan, the internal fan has already kicked on. No issues with that. So now I have the egg boiler. This thing usually pulls about 300 watts. I do have the MyHeat turned on. The AC inverter is rated at 600 watts. So I'm gonna test both these and just see how it looks. First, I'll turn the egg boiler on. It just has water in it, so it won't melt internally or anything as it's boiling. It's about 300 watts, which is pretty steady. Notice the battery gauge here. The time remaining says about 1.8 hours, which is, I think, okay. It's a 595 watt power station. If that's pretty accurate, we have a little less than 2 hours of battery time remaining. I'm gonna turn on my MyHeat heater. Okay, so with a load of about little under 520 watts, it says we have about 60 minutes remaining at 97%. Okay, so the last thing that I would want to be able to run on one of these is my little water boiler, so I can use this for a pour over coffee cup. This thing does pull 1000 watts. Most of these smaller power stations cannot hold this power or sustain this 1000 watt power. This power station is rated for surges of 1000 watts. So I don't think it's going to be able to handle this steady state 1000 watt load, but I'll go ahead and give it a try. AC on, set my temperature here, 203 degrees Fahrenheit for a perfect cup of pour over coffee. And let's see, it's working a little bit. Let's see how long that works, because we are in surge power mode. And of course, so that surge power mode actually worked better than any other of the 500 watt range power stations that I've ever worked with before. Usually this thing will shut them off immediately. So I am surprised that I got at least about 10 or 15 seconds of operation time at that 700 plus watt power range. So this test also unrealistic. I wouldn't expect the toaster to actually work with the machine here, but I'll turn it on, make sure the AC power is on, and let's just watch and see what happens. Maybe I'll start it on its lowest setting, see if it works on that. Kicking on. You can hear that fan kicked on. We're hitting a little over 700 watts. I am actually surprised that it did that. And as you can see, we did hit our overload circuit protection. For this last test that I'm going to do today, I'm going to go ahead and warm up my dinner using this crock pot. So with this crock pot, I'm just going to plug it in, turn on my AC adapter. I'm going to go ahead and crank the crock pot up to high. And then I'm going to add some water to the crock pot. So I have the right amount of water. And for this meal, I actually have some leftover brisket. So let me see if I can get this in there without breaking this glass or splashing my water everywhere. It's so crazy. And I am going to eat this. I shouldn't have got this everywhere. But I'm going to let this sit here probably for about an hour, I think, to warm up, get ready. Crock pot's on high. I'm only running 84 watts. I'll check in and see how it looks in about an hour. It's been a little more than an hour. We're down to 5 hours remaining and 82%. And it looks like the brisket is fully warmed up. So when I threw that in there, you know, it was like very cold, but it's warmed up. I'm gonna turn it off, take a test bite, see how it tastes. I did end up putting this crock pot on low last night, or warm, which is about a 25 watt draw, and it lasted about 12 hours, so I'm pretty impressed with that also. So I'm out at one of my favorite campsites. I'm gonna check the Oupes 600. I'm gonna test it for its ability to accept at least a 100 watt solar panel. I've brought both a 100 watt and a 120 watt solar panel, so I'll see if I can max the input and also see how that 100 watt solar panel performs combined with the Oupes 600. So I'm just gonna set them up right here. I've got plenty of sun, I can see a shadow. I'll try to keep this in the shade so that when I get a video of it, I'll be able to see the screen. Not gonna work that way. So I heard the fan kick on as the solar panel opened up, and I wanna see what kind of power am I getting right now. It says 19 watts. Let's see if I can improve that any. 20 watts. With these kind of solar panels, if you have anything covering your panel at all, it's gonna have basically not a good input. Okay, so what are we at now? Sitting at about 20 watts. So I positioned the solar panel on top of my Toyota Sienna minivan, and I'm doing this just to make sure I don't have any branches or bush or leaves covering the panel as I try to get the max power out of it. I do want to point out that it is also late November. You know, this is basically the worst season of the year for solar power, so we may not be able to get more because of the season. Fan kicks on, not blocking the panel at all, getting about 20 watts. So another reason for that may be that I'm only at about 1% of battery life. And since I'm only at about 1% of battery life, it may not be allowing the maximum charge to go in just yet. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hang out here for a while, let it charge up, and see maybe if the input increases. At this rate though, let's see, 20 watts from 0%. So to get to 20%, I'll need 120 watts. So that may take a while with the solar panel. So where I am, I'm kind of in the woods right now. It's a little overcast. I'm gonna try to move to another location where there are no trees around. Obviously, solar power needs a clear line of sight to the sun, and we'll see if I can get the full 100 watts into the Oupes 600. I found a direct line of sight to the sun, and sure enough, the cloud coverage, I don't know if you can see that in the video, but it is overcast. And even with the overcast sky, I am bringing in about 30 watts right now. That's actually very good, I think, for a day like today. So when I set the panel up about 10 minutes ago, you know, there was a nice clear outline of a shadow, but unfortunately with this overcast sky, I'm not able to get the max power into the power station. So I wanted to show for consistency, I do have now my Rockpal's 100 watt solar panel hooked up. This solar panel doesn't have kickstands built in, so I just angled it, leaned it on the front of the van, and I'm testing it like this. The power input is actually consistent with, hey, the other panel was 120 watts. And so there is kind of a proportional difference between the 30 watts I was bringing in with the 120 and, you know, the approximately 25 watts I'm bringing in with the 100. So if I wanted to charge this in the current conditions, I would probably need about 400 watts of solar panels to get the 100 watt input. So I'm traveling, I was heading back home and I got some good sun out. So I'm gonna try to get this thing set up with this full sun and see if we can actually get the power that we want out of this. You need to see this. Okay, so we got a bunch more sun. It's still slightly overcast. You know, it's still noon on the early winter, late fall day, late November. So I'm really happy with even being able to get 50 watts out of the panel at this time. Maybe when I get home, the sun will be out some more and I'll get another shot with a full day. Now I'm gonna test to see if I can charge with both the USB-C power delivery inlet as well as the AC inlet on the side. So I'm gonna start with the USB-C power delivery. I have this Dell 30 watt cable, so I'll plug that in, see what we get. Okay, so 29 watts from a 30 watt device, that's okay. And then here's just the inlet from the factory AC adapter, and let's see what we can pump up to. So 29 plus, and you hear that fan kick on as soon as anything heavy is going in wattage wise. That's actually very good that it has that thermal management built in. I'm thinking we're gonna be able to charge this much faster with both devices attached. Overall, the Oupes 600 is a great buy for the size of the battery and for the overall cost. If you're interested in checking out some of my other reviews, click on one of the videos up here or click the subscribe button down here, and I'll see you on my next adventure.